Hey everyone, it's Nelson Miller here with PA Creative. Today I have another Divi tutorial for the Divi Blog module, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how you can kind of highlight either maybe the category or the date, something like that, and kind of put it up over top of the image, separate from the meta there, and add some styling to it. And you see this a lot. It's actually a fairly common thing to kind of highlight the category or date or something like that over the image, and I'm going to show you how to do it. This is fun. It looks really nice. Let's get started, show you how. Alright, so there you can see how it's going to look in that little thumbnail there of the blog module where we put the date and category or author, whatever we want, up on top of the image. I don't really know of anyone else who's ever done this tutorial. We actually had multiple people ask about this, and I really like it. You see this a lot, and I just really like it. I think you're going to like it as well. Just follow along closely. There's a couple caveats and little things as we go, as far as like using one or the other, or little things like that. But basically, this is like part 2, in a sense, of last week's. If you're following along each week as we release a tutorial. But in the last one, we removed the post meta separators. And that tutorial over here, remove separators from the blog meta. We removed the by before the author, and then these little vertical lines between like the author and date and category, right? So we removed those meta separators. And part of the reason that we did that was knowing that we were going to do this tutorial, because we can't have these awkward little bars and stuff if we're moving those items separate. You know what I mean? Because by default, they're here, like in the blog module. I'll just show you here, the author by Nelson Miller, and then the date, and then the category. So removing those it's because we're putting them as separate items. All right, right now it's just kind of like the meta in like one line there. All right. So if you're following this on YouTube, be sure to click the link in the description, go over to the blog. The blog is where we always have all the code snippets and all the written text and any visual explanations there. And here we have basically just getting started. We do have to start with removing the separators. That really is the first step, and you'll see why later. So I'm not going to go into full detail on that, but basically just go over here, you'll go to this blog post, and you'll basically add a CSS class and copy this text into your page or into your theme options, and that way you'll remove those meta separators, and then we'll go from there. So if you have not done that, go ahead and take a moment and just go follow that video or that tutorial, and then we'll meet back up. Alright, so I have added the CSS class to my blog module like was shown in the tutorial. Then I added a code module, and on this particular page my code module has this JavaScript jQuery where we are removing the post meta. So at this point we can move on to today's tutorial, and so we'll jump back over to the blog post here. The next step is to add a custom CSS class, and this is basically we're adding this so that we only affect the blog module that we want to affect. Otherwise, if we just targeted like ET.PB blog, then it would target all of them. So we kind of do this a lot of times just to make sure we're targeting what we want and not affecting other ones on our site. So the one we have here in this example is called PA blog meta highlight. We're going to copy that, or you could just, type it over here. But basically go to the same blog module where you have removed the separators, and you can actually see in here we already have the class that's removing the separators. So we're going to add another class, which means we'd make a space and then put that in. So now we have 2 there separated by a space. So we're in the blog module settings, advanced tab, and then under the CSS ID and classes toggle, put it in the CSS class input field. And again, we're going to have 2 in here at this point. One removing the separators, and now this one, which will work for moving the meta up over the image. So now we're good. Go ahead and save that, and then we'll go back to the tutorial. And there's one snippet here that's actually going to be needed for all of the other snippets. So down below is a snippet for moving the date, moving the author, and moving the category. So a different one for each of those, okay? So you get to choose whether you want to, which item you want to put up there. But for each one of these other snippets down here, okay, they are all going to need one in common, and that's this first one. And here it says needed for each snippet. So go ahead and start by copying that. So that basically is, well, it's positioning each of the individual blog posts so that the when we position the meta, it doesn't plop them all on top of each other. It's positioning the meta relative to each post. And I know that's a little confusing, but basically if we didn't do this, it would just, like if we'd say move the meta to the top left, right? Like let's say we move the date to the top left. It would literally move the date, even if I had a bunch of blog posts here. In fact, let's extend this, remove my post count here just for the demo. So like all of these here, it would literally move them all to this very top left one. So by adding that first snippet, we're avoiding that. So anyway, where to put the code, you put it in the same place as always, in your style.css file, in the child theme that you have, or if you don't have a child theme, then in Divi theme options. So it's a custom CSS box there. You could also put it directly on the page. I'm going to show you that here so that I can just make it easy. So first of all, I'm opening up my page settings and I'm going to plop it in here. I have some other CSS for the button. That was a separate tutorial styling the button. So I'm just going to paste that there. You're not going to see anything change or happen with that, but that is necessary. So now we can move on to looking at the individual snippets that actually do something. All right, so we've applied that here, and I'm actually going to exit the builder here because I want to show you the rest of this tutorial in a little bit different way. I'm going to get out of the builder. I'm not going to put the code in here. You'll put your final code into here or in theme options and child theme, but I'm going to show you using a Chrome extension because it'll make it way easier for me. I just wanted to point out one little thing here. When you're in the builder, you'll notice that the pipes are still here, the bys here, the meta separators are still there, and don't worry about that. You'll also notice if you're pasting in some of these other snippets, like here, if you paste this in, if you go paste that in here into the page, you won't see it change in the builder. That's because of what we're doing here. It's kind of it's different than normal, and plus we're inside the visual builder, and the visual builder is like this, like kind of faking it. Okay. So don't be alarmed if you don't see it. You'll go ahead and you'll exit the page and then you'll see it. So I'm going to exit here. Now you won't see anything really happen because we haven't actually moved any of the meta items yet. We've just sort of prepared them. Now we have removed the separators. You can see that they're missing. So what I'm going to do now is show you examples of moving each one of these items one at a time. So let's go back. And I kind of copied this already. So the published date, the date of the blog post. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go back here. Now, I said I was going to do something a little different. I'm going to use this Chrome extension that allows me to put CSS in here. It's just faking it, kind of like when you're in the browser tools, but it's called user CSS. So I'm going to paste my code there because now you can see that instantly. That's the reason I'm using this for me. You won't necessarily use this because it doesn't save it for the user. It only saves it for you, okay? So let's just look at this for a second. I just moved the date from this gray area down here up into here, up over the image, the top left. So let's take a look at the snippet, and I think you understand this. First thing we say is position absolute. We want it sort of just think, I want it absolutely at the top left. Think of it in terms of that, okay? So it's a fixed position. Well, not fixed. It's an absolute position, but you know what I mean. It's going to be fixed there always to the top left of the image. Now, I could say, I could change left to right. Check that out. So there you go. See how simple that was to change left to right. Another thing I could do, let's say I don't want the text to be, white. I want it to be green. Well, let's get rid of the hashtag. And you can barely see it. Let's say I want the background now to be white. You see that? I want the text to be red. I want, the padding to be a lot more padding. Whatever. I want it to be square. I want there to be a border. It goes on and on, the normal CSS stuff. And I'm not going to repeat this for everyone, but just keep in mind that you can do this. You can customize this however you want. And I'm just showing you, I'm basically giving you the something that will work, right away. And you could just change the blue to your brand. Or if you want to customize it, by all means, go for it. Definitely customize it. So there we moved the date. Now you may notice something if you're, if you're really observing close. There's something don't look right now in our meta. There's the author, and then it just says Nelson Miller Cats and Dogs. It's like, what? Well, cats and dogs is the category, so it's kind of a dumb. Anyway, we're missing like a divider. Well, that's because we removed the divider. Well, you say, well, why did I do that? Because now it looks dumb. Well, I had to do that because there would be believe it or not, there would still be a line, a vertical pipe, a vertical divider line right here before October. So that's why we removed the separators. So what you can do is just turn one of these guys off, like turn off author, right? And then it will just show category. Then it won't look like anything's wrong. Or turn off the category, just keep author. And that way it won't look like anything's wrong. Or you could do this. Back to the tutorial. The next one here is about the category. First we did first we did date, now we're doing category. So I'm going to go back here. I'm just going to paste this here. Well, we have a problem. We've just moved all of the meta and over, now there's a stack of them here. So I'm going to say right, just like that. So now we have date on the left, category on the right. Now I don't want to confuse you yet, but there is a little problem, and maybe what I will do, instead of confusing you right now, I'm going to just remove that. We're going to go to the next one, and then I'll confuse you at the end. Basically, that was just showing you there, doing both, and you can see in the screenshot. But here, let's do the same thing with the author. Again, be sure to be going to the blog post. That's where all the good stuff is. Now, I've removed, I've moved the author. And I don't really know why you'd want to do that. Maybe if you like on my blog, it's always me, right? So why would I do that? Why would I even have author turned on? To me, I would just turn author off. It's always me. I guess if you had I don't know, if you had a lot of whatever your blog was, it had a lot of guests. It was always someone different. Then you may want to use this. But anyway, the caveat here for all of these, and stick with me on this. This is going to get confusing. Think of each of these items as meta, right? It's in the CSS, it's post-meta. And then some of these are links. So the author is a link. The category is a link. So I could click the author, Nelson Miller, and it would go to a page like this with just posts by me, okay? I could click on category and it would go to a page just like this, and it would be all posts in this category. Well, the problem here is that there's no way to target each of these individually. We kind of have to hack it. Now, there is a way to target just the author and the date, and you can actually see that in the CSS. If you look closely, oh, we're not looking at the right place. Under blog published date, you can see post meta. All of them are post meta. So if we just say post meta, it would move them all. But then span.published. That is what's targeting the date. So that one we have a class. That's wonderful. We have a CSS class for the date. I wish we had them for all of them. The other one that we have is the author here. And you can see span.author.vcard. Okay, so we can target the author. Wonderful. The one that we don't have, which is very unfortunate with Divi, we don't have one that's like category. So to target the category, if you looked or took special notice earlier, we were just targeting post meta a link in the post meta. Now, when you do this, unfortunately, watch what happens. It moves 2 items. It actually moved the author up here behind here. You can't see it. And it moved the category because those are post meta links. So what in the world do we do? How do we target if we just want to move the category? Well, if you read here, you'll see that I have a solution. So where is it at? Right here. You can use nth child. Now, nth child is CSS that targets... Oh, how am I going to explain this easily? I'm going to put it in here and show you. So think of nth child as we're targeting, if you have children, you might say, well, I have the oldest is, the first child, and then the second oldest is the second child, and the third. It goes on that. And if you line them all up, you'd say first, second, third child, right? So if I say nth child 1, I'm going to target the first one. If I say nth child 2, I'm targeting the second one. Of that kind. Well, of the kind is links. So we want to target the nth child third item link. So the third item here happened to be categories. Here. Just bear with me. So count the items. Author 1. Date 2. Category 3. So there's the third item. I want to target the third item. So we've used post meta and then nth child. I know, that's very confusing. And to make it even more confusing, if I was to go and turn off one of these and only have 2 items total, then I would have to change it to nth child 2. Let me show you. So I came into the Visual Builder. I'm going to go into the blog module, go to my elements, and now let's say I want to turn off author. Okay, so now we have the date on and the category is on. Okay, so great. I'm going to save and exit. All right, so now we have 2 items, date and category. So now in my code here, there's no longer a third. So if I change this to a 2, we've targeted the category. And now we have the date down here. So I know that can be very confusing. If you're still with me, give me a thumbs up. I'm sorry if it's so confusing. I'm working with Divi here. I wish they would have its own class. If they had its own class like the other ones, like the author and the date, then we'd be all set. We wouldn't have to worry with any of this nth stuff. But again, just go ahead and style these however you want. You can pick and choose. Just keep in mind a few of these caveats, which basically just means if you want to remove the separators because of the way it looks, then you also have to consider how many other items you have turned on. Right now, we don't need a separator because we've turned one off, so it looks great. This will be the last thing. If you had more than one category, that could be very confusing. In fact, I don't know how that will look. I don't think it's going to work if you have a blog post in multiple categories. It's going to lose the effect, Let me go do that, add a new category to this post. Okay, so clearly it does not work if you have more than one category, because take a look here. We have the date down here, and then the space, and then a comma, because the comma is separating the categories. Here we have the cats and dogs category, then we have example post category. It's not working. If I target, let's see, 3, well then we put the example post category up there, cats and dogs down here. So, you know, that's not going to work. It would work maybe if we did something like that, just targeted the post meta, but then you'd have to turn off the date and only have the category. So you'd have like, it totally loses the effect. So that's just another one of those caveats. But I just really do not think that's a negative thing, because if you're doing this, you know, we're already thinking outside the box, trying to come up with an answer here. So it's not like, I don't know, it's not like we're ruining any sort of functionality. It's just, this is like a bonus. So there you have it. I think it looks great. I think having at least the date maybe, or just the category, I don't know, up over there. I mean, by all means, just try the date. If you have multiple categories, try the date, and just go with that. And I think that would work really well. Turn off the author and just leave your categories lined up down here. I think it's a great effect. I think it's something that you're going to find useful, and I hope that you guys enjoy this. And if you see people asking this, be sure to remember to grab the link for them here to my tutorial. All right, so there you go. That's how you highlight those things, and I really like that, and I've had a lot of requests for that, so I hope that you all are very happy with this, and a nice solution there for your Divi blog, and combine this with all of our other tutorials. We have a ton of tutorials just for the blog, so if you're not familiar with those, definitely be subscribed here and be following along, and go search those out on our blog or on YouTube. All right, well, we'll see you guys in the next video.